Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows? Only time. And who can say if your love grows as your heart shows? Only time.
Good morning and welcome back to history class. Let's fix this monitor here a little bit. There we go. We've been talking about Julius Caesar and his rise to power. Okay, yesterday we talked about Caesar taking control of Rome and having himself made the dictator. But you can call yourself dictator all you like. That doesn't mean that you're in charge forever. No, especially since Pompey is still out there, and Caesar knew that if Pompey came back, there would actually be a war in Rome, and he didn't want that. He did not want that. So, after he became dictator of Rome, he decided he was going to take care of things himself. So he got his army together, and he went to find Pompey. Pompey was hiding out in Egypt. And Caesar knew if there was anybody that he needed to go and talk to, it would be the guy in charge of Egypt. And that was this dude. That is Ptolemy. Ptolemy. He was the pharaoh of Egypt. He was young, and he wasn't a very good ruler. He was weak. But Caesar and Ptolemy's armies got together, and they went to find Pompey. And it took them several years, but finally they found him. It's said, we don't know if this is for sure or not, it's said that Ptolemy had Pompey's head cut off and brought as a gift to Caesar. And when Caesar saw it, he cried. Again, no one's sure if that's true or not, but remember, Pompey and Caesar were friends. And Caesar, he probably would have liked to keep ruling with Pompey as his friend, but that's not how it happened. At any rate, so now Pompey is dead, and Caesar can go back to Egypt again, right? Maybe back to Rome again, right? Not quite. He still had some business in Egypt. Or rather, somebody else had business for him in Egypt. You see, somebody else was looking at the relationship between Ptolemy and Caesar and saying, this isn't good. Ptolemy is a bad pharaoh, that's the word for king. I want to be in charge. And that was Ptolemy's sister, who was this lady. Her name was Cleopatra. Cleopatra had wanted to rule Egypt for a long time. But Ptolemy was in charge. There was no way that he was going to give it up. And so Caesar got a visit from Cleopatra. It's said that she smuggled herself into where he was staying by hiding in a carpet. That she had some friends roll her up in a carpet and bring her into Caesar's room. And Caesar almost immediately fell in love with her. He thought that she was beautiful. He thought that she was smart. And Cleopatra used him to fight, used him and his army to fight Ptolemy and his army. After a while, after a bunch of fighting, Ptolemy was killed, and Cleopatra became the head of Egypt. So what did Caesar get out of it? Caesar's helping Cleopatra to become pharaoh. What does Caesar get out of it? Well, not a whole lot. He just did it because he fell in love with Cleopatra. They had a son together, it's said. Again, no one's really sure about this, but we think it's true. They had a son together. But Caesar was already married, and even if he wasn't, he couldn't marry Cleopatra because she was not a Roman. And Roman law was you could only marry Roman citizens. But he never stopped loving her, even after he went back to Rome, where he got himself set up and went back to his job of ruling the Roman Republic. Now remember, the head of the Roman Republic is called the consul. He's like the president. The consul can only be in charge for 1 year. But in times where there's an emergency, one person could take control of the whole republic and run it all until the emergency was over. And that person would be called dictator. Well, Caesar, when he took over the Roman Republic, he called himself dictator until he could get rid of Pompey. Now Pompey is gone. There's nobody else threatening the Roman Republic. So what Caesar should have done was step down. He didn't. Caesar liked being in charge. And the thing is, the people liked Caesar being in charge. Caesar made them strong, they believed. Caesar made them powerful. And so Caesar was very, very popular. There's people who were worried about Caesar getting too powerful, but Caesar showed that he was not going to be a king. He did not want to be a king. The whole reason that the Roman Republic existed was because having kings turned out to be a bad idea. There was a story that Caesar was at a game, sort of like the Olympics, we talked about with Greece, a lot of stuff, and at the end of it, his friend, Mark Antony, who was the guy that Caesar had left behind to rule Rome while he was gone in Egypt, he came up to Caesar and with a crown. And Caesar said, "Nope, no crowns. I will not wear a crown. I am not king, and I do not want this to turn back into a kingdom." And the people cheered for Caesar. "Yes, Caesar, we love Caesar. Caesar is looking out for us." But was he though? Was he though? Was that real? Or was that just a plan? If the people had said, "No, we want you to be a king," would Caesar become king? We don't know. We don't know how much of that was faked or not. But we do know that, like I said, Caesar, he was dictator, and he was dictator for 5 years. It's only supposed to be for a little time. He was dictator for 5 years until he was chosen as dictator for life. Dictator for life. That means that as long as he was alive, he would be in charge of the Roman Republic. So he may not have called himself king, but he was basically a king. And he made changes to Rome. Like I said, we talked about how he built up the army. He lowered taxes for the people. He also invented something you've probably heard of, and that would be this. That's the calendar. Why do years have 12 months and 365 days? Well, that was Julius Caesar's idea. Yes, Julius Caesar invented the calendar. In fact, the month of July, the month of Julio, is named after him, because that was the month he was born in. So yes, Julius Caesar did one of the things. That was one of the things he invented, the calendar that we still use today, sort of. We use a slightly different one, but that's a discussion for another time. But Caesar was the one who came up with the idea for the calendar. As dictator, he was very, very popular. In fact, he was a little too popular. And some people began to wonder, okay, what if Caesar declares himself king? What if he decides to change the Roman Republic back into a Roman kingdom? We might have to do something about this. What did they do? Well, we will talk about that tomorrow as we wrap up with Caesar. So for now, let's go over our questions for today. Question number 1, what famous invention did Caesar give to the world? And that was the calendar. The calendar. Question number 2 is a bit of a mistake. It says, what was the name of the Egyptian queen that Caesar married? I wrote that question because I thought they had married, and then later I found out that Caesar and Cleopatra could not have been married because that was against the law. So that's a mistake. It should probably read, what was the name of the Egyptian queen that Caesar fell in love with? But whatever, it happened, it happened. It's too late to change it. But the answer to that one is Cleopatra. Cleopatra. And question number 3, how long did Caesar rule as dictator? Caesar ruled as dictator for 5 years. For 5 years. From 48 BC until 44 BC. And then, well, we will talk about what happens to him tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be our last day talking about Julius Caesar as we find out what happens to the dictator of the Roman Republic. So that's all we have for today. So goodbye, and I will see you on Thursday. All right? Have a good day.